Right up today, something a little bit different. This is a Pioneer PL115D. As you can see, it's been modified. So this one came in. There's a video on it, what I did to it. So you can watch that to figure out exactly what it is you're looking at. This one has been modified, but I can still do a gear review because essentially the turntable, other than cosmetic things, has been unchanged. So Pioneer PL115D, manufactured somewhere between 1976 and 1978. Let me get out of the screen here so you don't see my reflection. Auto return belt drive turntable on the lighter side. Still, it's a decent sized turntable. Series information, they sold a bazillion, right? 115, 117, 112D turntables. The whole series, though, if you're looking at the entire range of turntables they were selling at the time, top of the line, depending upon the year, top of the line was probably the PL570, could be the PL530, kind of depending upon what catalog you're looking at. But I'm going to split the difference, say 1977, and the PL570 was the top of the line. They had three categories of turntables at that time. So you had the quartz lock turntables, the PL570 and 550. Superior build quality, great turntables. A lot of what I'm about to tell you about the cons of a turntable like this don't really apply to those turntables. They command high dollars. They're just beautiful turntables. So you had the quartz lock category. Then you have the direct drive category, the PL530 and the PL510A. I have a review video out about the PL510A. I think it is an undervalued direct drive turntable from Pioneer. I have one, so I'm biased, but I think they are great buys. PL530s, I like them. I re-veneered one. I have some issues with the clunkiness of the operation, but they're pretty solid turntables. Then you had the belt drive turntable category. And this was really the entry-level, kind of low-end category for Pioneer at the time. In that category, you had the PL112D, that's fully manual belt drive. You had the PL115D, auto-return belt drive. And then you had the 117D, and that was a fully automatic belt drive turntable. This one is the PL115D. The aesthetics of the PL115D, I'm just going to call it the 115 because it's easier. For the Pioneer PL115 it is a basic 70s Pioneer turntable. Not to say that there's anything bad about it, not to say that it's ugly. It's a basic Pioneer turntable from the 1970s. Operation, really easy. So if you look at, hookups are typical. RCA cables, nothing special in the back. Operation is easy, so you have speed selector 33 and 45. You have arm elevation up and down. You have a return button, so this way you can return the record to the tone arm, or return the tone arm to the tone arm stand before it hits the run-out groove on the record. You have anti-skate. You have VTF adjustment, the counterweight. Tone arm class, pretty basic. S-shaped tone arm, pretty basic turntable, pretty easy to use. Serviceability on these, fairly easy. I haven't come across, now I did have a 117 that gave me fits, but 112s and 115s, I've been able to sort, I think, all of them out. I don't recall having any that I could not get sorted out, and if I did, they would be, the carcass would be a parts unit, and we don't have any right now. So, and I've worked on a ton of these in the past. So serviceability, I have found these to be pretty easy. Common issues, right? So common issues amongst almost any vintage turntable, you have the issue of hardened grease, right? So grease will harden, it will thicken, it will turn to glue, it'll get sticky. So any automatic function, right? Even if it's like an auto return turntable, that will get hung up and it won't work properly. You can also have spindle. Sometimes they use grease on the spindle. Sometimes the oil is dried up, so that can be an issue as well. These are known to have bad switches or switches that go bad occasionally. It's just a little micro switch that operates like the auto start mechanism. So for those that don't know, right, the way you start this turntable, and it's not plugged in, but you lift the tone arm, right, you move it to the beginning of the table, it'll start on its own, drop it, right, using the tone arm elevator, it'll play, hit the run out groove, and then it will return at the end. So sometimes that switch that turns the turntable on and off, that switch can go bad. And then naturally RCA cables. So I did have to replace the RCA cables on this turntable. That's common with any turntable. I mean, you could have a turntable that's 3 years old and have bad RCA cables, depending upon how they were connected and how the turntable may have been stored. You know, you get breaks in the wire in the cables. Another common issue with this, and I'm gonna kind of segue into what to look for, is that these Pioneer turntables, as a matter of fact, 2 of the 3 series, right? So the entry level and the mid level, so the 112, 115, 117, 510, and 530, they use that really, really horrible tissue thin vinyl veneer. I'm not sure about the 550 and the 570. And when I looked and I did the review on the 570, it looked like the veneer was of a higher quality. And I don't see, when I'm looking for 550s or 570s, I don't see as many of them with veneer issues as you do on the lower level turntables. So the veneer peeling off on these is a very, very, very common issue. As a matter of fact, if you see one that doesn't have the veneer peeling, the veneer is going to start peeling at some point in time. And when I re-veneered the 530, you can kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive into what that veneer looks like and how it's applied and how to remove it and re-veneer and all that stuff. So things to look for on these. Number one, functionality. Does it work? Right? So if it doesn't return, if it doesn't spin, you know, a lot of times people will sell a turntable on eBay as not working and it doesn't have a belt, right? Or if the auto function on this, or the auto return function on this one more specifically, if it doesn't go, it could be an issue of hardened grease. It could be something broken underneath, so you never can tell. But for this, I would, number one, look for functionality, then look for completeness. And completeness on this, because this is a lower end turntable, a big thing is, does it have a head shell? Right? You want to make sure it has a head shell, because that's an additional $20 to $30. Make sure the tone arm is intact, make sure it has counterweight, make sure all of these little levers are present, right? Make sure it has a dust cover, make sure the dust cover isn't trashed. And then finally, the veneer. So the nice thing about these turntables, and if you look at the service video, the modification video, you'll see how this veneer is a little frustrating, but typically I have found that 3-inch or 2-inch, I guess it's 2-inch, 2-inch banding will fit this plinth just about perfectly, except for this maple. It was a little bit off, so I had to do a little cheating down here and paint a little black strip across the bottom to kind of hide where the veneer is basically not tall enough for the plinth. I think it looks okay though, considering what it is, you know. But definitely look for the state of the veneer, and then ask yourself the question, can I live with it like that? Do I want to just peel the tissue paper off and then repaint the backing, or do I just want to use the tan backing, or do I want to remove that and try to re-veneer it myself? And really, re-veneering this was not tough. It was not tough at all. So anyone can do it. This is just iron-on maple veneer. I like the way it changes the look, and I'll talk a little bit more about the modification here in a minute. But I would definitely look for all of those things: functionality, completeness, dust cover, head shell, veneer. And then feet. Feet are another big thing on these. You want to make sure it has the feet. These feet are trash. They don't really do anything. But you don't want to have to buy feet if you don't want to have to go out and source feet if you don't need feet. That's probably the best way to put that. So what exactly did I do to this one? I don't want to get too far into the weeds on the the service on this or the repair on this or the modification on this. But basically this came to us from Goodwill. So this was a Goodwill purchased turntable. The dust cover's in really good condition. The veneer was pretty trashed. I really didn't have to sort anything out. This thing lived with the smoker, so there was nicotine all over everything. I changed the slip mat just because I think the cork slip mat with the maple looks better than keeping the black one on there. I mean, I could keep the black one on there, the original Pioneer, but I think it looks a little bit better this way. Just me personally, I like maple. And I did get a grain match or wrap around here. It's pretty close. But dealing with the inconsistency in the banding was pretty frustrating. But anyway, that's kind of a summary of what I did to this. Really, there wasn't much. I didn't do much to it other than re-veneer it and then sort it out, make sure everything was working. Oh, and I did replace the RCA cables. That's a part of the service video. So what might one expect to pay for one of these if you are looking for one? Now this one this one is gonna go out for a little bit more because it has been modified and it looks clean and it's unique, and we'll see if anybody has an interest in purchasing one that's a little bit different from what you normally see, you know, kind of a one of a kind. But I would say, so ignoring that or maybe even lumping this into that category, what I have found is that PL115s, PL115Ds, in really good shape. So the veneer is intact, it's been serviced, the dust cover's in perfect shape, right? It's got a working cartridge, if its function is perfectly fine. They will sell, shockingly enough, they will sell for upwards of $400. And I think that's, I think for the that's kind of a lot to ask for this turntable, right? You can get a similar techniques that's probably got a little bit of a higher quality build from about the same time frame. And I'm talking like an SL23 or something like that. That's going to be probably a little bit more reliable for a little bit less than that. So I would say $300 or more. Now this one with the veneer, we're gonna put it out for a little bit more than that, probably $350 or something like that, just to see if there's interest in it. And then if there's interest in it, we may start picking these up, a little more frequently, and then I'll modify them. So restored, $300 or more. Working. So working, and how I'm going to define working is maybe the dust cover's scratched or a little beat up. Maybe there are some cracks in it, right? Not horrible cracks, not missing chunks, but maybe just some minor cracks. The veneer is probably not all intact, right? Or it just looks beat to snot, or maybe there are scratches on the top, or, maybe it's missing the head shell. Maybe it's missing the counterweight. I would put that, well, I would say if it's missing the counterweight, I would lump that in as a parts unit. But finding these with the head shell missing is very common. So I will say around $200, right? And again, that can flex $225, $250, $175, somewhere in that $200 mark. You can get one of these to where it's probably working, possibly minus the head shell, possibly minus the dust cover, right? Somewhere around that $200 mark. And then to pick one of these up to repair a parts unit where the veneer is trash, where it's missing a major part, at a minimum, probably the head shell, at a minimum, probably the dust cover. Sorry, people always want to text me when I do these. So parts units less than $150. If I were to, or if I'm looking for one of these and I'm trying to pick one up to where I can do a little bit of work to it like this, and then, flip it, sell it to the shop, I am looking at $125 or less, right? Because if you think about it, now, this slip mat, I think I get them 3 for like $15. So $5 for the cork slip mat. Cartridge, Audio-Technica 3600L. The prices on these fluctuate based on availability. I've picked these up for as little as like $15, as much as 25 or 30 in the past. Just depends on who I'm buying from, time of year, what their inventory is like. So you've got 5, let's say 20, so 25. The banding is like 10 bucks. And then really time wise, it doesn't take a lot of time to remove the old veneer and then put it on. So out of pocket expense is, let's just round up to say 40 bucks, right? So if I pick one of these up for 150, right, and then I put $40 into it plus my time, well, that means this turntable is going to be sold to one of the shops for $225, $250. Then what do you ask for it? So that they can make some money, right? So I target about 125 bucks or less. And if I'm getting it for 125 bucks, it's going to have a dust cover. It's probably going to have a head shell, but I collect head shells, right? Doing this over the years, I have several head shells that I can put on here. It doesn't have to be Pioneer, but I usually have a couple of them laying around. But you can kind of see, like, I'm gonna go for the big things. The cover, or the top of the base is, the top of the plinth is going to be perfect, no scratches, not missing lettering or any of that crazy stuff. So anyway, these are good turntables. These are nice. These are nice entry-level turntables, right? I like the maple, right? This just has some polyurethane on it just to kind of protect it. I like the maple. I think it's sharp looking. You know, may or may not be for you, but I think it looks better than it did. And if you watch the service video, you'll see that. So I think that's going to wrap it up for the Pioneer PL115D. Good entry-level turntable. Can't go wrong with it. Again, this is a mod, resto mod, or right. I didn't hot rod it or anything. I just kind of aesthetically, you know, cosmetically cleaned it up and changed the look of it. So that's going to wrap it up. As always, if you like what you see, hit like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.